folks, it's Stefan, back again with another episode of the Gamer's Companion to Music. Today we head to the gardens of Viva Pinata. This quasi-sandbox game boasts some of the most relaxing and peaceful video game music I've ever heard. Combine the adorable pinata creatures, the tranquility of gardening, and a calm orchestral score, and the final product ends up being just a pleasant experience, sure to put a smile on your face. So grab your spade and let's dig into the music of Viva Pinata. Viva Pinata was released for the Xbox 360 in 2006, with its most direct sequel, Trouble in Paradise, releasing in 2008. The player is tasked with turning a decrepit garden into a bubbling oasis to attract different animal species represented as pinatas. Like for real, when you break a pinata, candy pops out. It's pretty awesome. The garden you start with is, well, it's pretty nasty. I mean, just take a look at this place. It is not ideal. As you progress, though, new shops and tools are available to you to change the landscape of your garden as you see fit. The music was written by Grant Kirkhope, composer of the Banjo-Kazooie series. It was originally going to be written by Steve Burke, who notably composed the music for Cameo, and was also working for Rare at the time. Burke composed some interesting music for the game, which I'll get into later, and as the game Cameo was getting bigger and further into development, Grant came in to work on Viva Pinata while Steve focused his attention onto composing music for Cameo. The final music was performed by the City of Prague Philharmonic Orchestra, quite beautifully. The music breaks down into a few aspects. In the game, there's a day-night cycle, with the nighttime being significantly less real-time than the daytime. The way the music is programmed, you'll hear a piece of music and then anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes of garden ambience before another piece of music starts. The only exception is when night hits. A piece of music is programmed to begin immediately, since it's a shorter period of time. I would imagine that the composition process is quite similar to an open-world exploration game such as Skyrim or Fallout 3, in that the music isn't scripted to like a cutscene or a player event. There's no way the game can possibly know what you're about to do and organize a musical moment, so the music's role is much more of an ambient nature. Another very interesting distinction going along with this is that the music seems to be organized by day and night, and has nothing to do with any overt action you perform. It's not like you take out a shovel, then the old shoveling tune starts to play. There's different music for the menus, the shops, the romance dances, and the discovery of new pinatas, but the brunt of the music happens while you're playing in your garden overworld. Now, in terms of the instruments, you'll hear plenty from the woodwinds such as flute, clarinet, and oboe, as well as the strings, and more of a color roll from the brass. There's not really a lot of percussion either in this game, especially in the overworld music. So let's listen to a couple of different textures and some of my favorite pieces you'll hear during the course of your gardening adventure. The first comes from a piece called Time Flies. We hear a very nice rhythmic gesture in the pizzicato strings. Pizzicato just means the strings are plucked and not played with the bow. A lovely flute solo plays over top of this before a couple of clarinets take over the melody in harmony with each other. It's such a light and whimsical piece, and it always puts a smile on my face when this one comes up. There's a neat piece called Ripen in Bloom, which takes a clarinet melody and then immediately gives it to my favorite orchestral combination ever, the cellos and horns in their beautiful lower register, while the high woodwinds just kind of float above with help from a glockenspiel, which is a keyboard instrument with a very, very pingy sound. Grant's own favorite piece he wrote for the game is called Tranquil Hours, and it starts off with piano and definitely plays when it's nighttime. It takes a really interesting, mysterious turn about 2/3 of the way through the piece, as it reaches its climax in a style that's slightly less serene than the music leading up to it, but equally as beautiful. Have a listen. There's a very interesting element that you'll hear in quite a few of the overworld pieces of the music. Frosty Morning and Warm Heart Cold Nose start with the exact same chord progression before giving way to a flute solo. If I did my piano playing right, this chord progression is 1, flat 6, 1. In other words, we pivot between the tonic chord and then a chord a major third below it and then back. This flat 6 chord is not in the major scale of the original chord, so it offers a more stark change than going to a more traditional chord in the scale. We also hear this element through a few other spots and pieces in the game where a melody actually sings over top of this. Another interesting element is a musical motif that reappears from time to time that includes a suspension. Remember, a suspension is when one note is held over from a previous chord for a time before it resolves into a new one. It sounds like this when I sing it. So that's what you're listening for in the melody in this piece of music growing under Moonlight. Now there's a lot more overworld music to check out, but I really like to move on to some of the other facets of the game's score. First is the music that happens every time you see a pinata for the first time. I promise you'll know this one by heart if you play the game. Here's 3 different animal intros: the Sparrowmint, the Pret's Tail, and the Sour Sherbat. Now notice the slight difference in instrumentation through these. I love everything about the romance music. Here's the romance minigame music, which is incredibly whimsical. It just takes high strings and adds fluttering flutes as if they were birds flying above. And now here are some of the Pinata romance dances, which are like cutscenes. Each one is different based on the species of Pinata. Now I've only encountered a few in-game, but here's the first one for the worm. And now the dance for the Sparrowmint. They do a great job of taking a wide variety of styles and instrumentations and injecting them into the Pinata-specific dances. You can hear how different these two are. To give you a taste of what some of the ambiance is without the music, here's some generic garden play while the music's not playing. You really hear the sounds of the piñatas and seeds, and depending on which are in your garden, this drastically changes throughout the course of the game. Some of the menu music really is different from anything else as well. Here's a snippet of what you'll hear when you're customizing options or saving the game or something of that nature. I mean, that's way different than anything we've heard, right? Now, another place you spend a lot of time is browsing Cost-A-Lot's store. There's so much to buy and sell, and you'll get this music in your head after a time as well.
Good evening. So I'm not the only person who can't afford to sleep around here. Found what you want?
Now, to give you an idea of how different the music could have been, here's a track composed by Steve Burke for the game originally. It still retains that very peaceful feel, but the use of keyboard percussion and pan flute makes it feel much more like you're on an island adventure somewhere. It's a pretty neat piece as a standalone piece, and would have changed the tone of the garden for sure. Now, Viva Pinata is another one of those games where I can't possibly cover all the music I love from it without playing the entire soundtrack. And I know every video someone says, "Oh, you missed my favorite," so I'm just gonna put together a short medley of pretty moments from tracks I haven't covered already in this video. I hope I hit some of your favorites too. Included are Winter Shines, Desert Breezes, Flower Greetings, and Midnight Feasts. Viva Pinata has a beautiful score, and the use of non-piercing instruments really give the game its serene feeling. I love all of the music in this game, I really do. I'm trying to keep these videos from stretching on way too long, but sometimes it's so hard with so much amazing music that these wonderful composers write for video games these days. I promise that if you play this game, it will only bring joy into your life, even if just for a short time. The combination of the piñatas dancing around and eating candy and the relaxing atmosphere never ceases to make me feel great. And with that, we sign off on another episode of the Gamer's Companion to Music. As always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. If you want more Gamer's Companion to Music, click here, and if you like what you hear, please subscribe for more videos in the future. I'm already hard at work on the next one, and I'm pretty sure most of you are going to be pleased.